Today we are going to discuss about the second component of a vertical alignment, that is the vertical curves. And before that, just to revise what we had seen in the last lecture. So in the last lecture, we started with the design of vertical alignment, and in that we saw that vertical alignment, it has two components. One is the gradient and another is the vertical curve. So we had seen everything about gradients in our last lecture. So gradient is nothing but the rise and fall along the length of your road, and it is generally expressed in percentage or in a ratio of 1 in some value x, and that 1 is vertical unit and x is the horizontal unit. Then we had seen the types in the gradients. So you had a ruling gradient, which is nothing but maximum gradient. And to understand that, we had seen this concept that how different gradients they look. So we had seen mainly 1 in 100, 1 in 80, 1 in 60, 1 in 40, and 1 in 20 gradient. So 5 different gradients in 5 different colors. And then we had seen that if we take 3 vehicles, consider 3 vehicles, that is a car, an empty truck, and a loaded truck. So their speeds, it will go on varying as they move on the steeper gradients. So due to this, it's quite not possible to come up with the exact value that this should be the ruling gradient for this type of terrain. And also we have to keep into consideration the critical length of your gradient, that is the length for which the speed reduction is what you can say reasonable one. So that reasonable value is of 25 kmph, and below that, if you have a speed reduction more than this 25 kmph, then you need to think about the length of your gradient. You need to minimize it. And then we had seen some values of ruling gradients recommended by IRC. Then the second type was limiting, which was for some exceptional situations. And then there was the exceptional gradient, which was for extraordinary situations where you can't give a limiting gradient also, or limiting gradient is also mild for that case. So you have to go for a very steep gradient. So in that case, we go for this exceptional gradient, but only thing we have to remember is that its length should not be greater than 100 meter. And then we saw minimum gradient. This was mainly from the drainage point of view, that to have a good or efficient side drainage network, you need to provide a minimum gradient. Okay. So it comes out to be 1 in 100 or 1 in 200, depending on what is the type of side drain. And then some typical values we had seen. And then we ended our lecture with the grade compensation. That is nothing but in case of a up gradient plus a horizontal curve, your vehicle has to overcome both the resistances. So in that case, the gradient is compensated or it is decreased a bit using this formula of 30 plus r upon r, where r is the radius of horizontal curve, and the maximum limit for that compensation is 75 by r. We had seen a small numerical also related to it. So this is what we covered in the last lecture. Today we are starting with the vertical curves, and in vertical curves mainly we will start with the summit curves. Now summit curve, it is nothing but what photo you see here. It is again a photo of actual site, the site that I had once referred during our discussion in first unit, Jaisalmer Meajla Road, or Jaisalmer towards the India-Pakistan border road. So it's one of the photograph from that road. So this is a summit curve. Summit curve is nothing but whenever you have a gradient, up gradient, and then it is followed by a down gradient. So in that case, you can't just leave this point as it is. You have to provide or mild it down or flatten it. So that flattening is done by providing a curve in between. Okay. So summit curve, this is the theoretical diagram, you can say, or how it looks on paper, but on ground, this is how a summit curve looks. So this is the side view, you can say, of a summit curve, but on site actually you can't take a side view because the adjoining area, it is obviously with level with the road, so you can't really dig out this section and then take a picture of it. So a summit curve from this view, or when you are traveling on it, it looks something like this, that you have an up gradient, and at the apex, or this point, at the apex point, we called it as an apex of a summit curve. So at this apex point, you really don't see anything, and because there is a down gradient just after this. So this is what a summit curve looks like. And then if you go into the types of summit curves, so there are these 4 types. Now each type is based on what 2 different gradients, or which 2 different gradients they meet. Okay, so as I told you over here, that a summit curve is generally formed when you have an up gradient and then followed by a down gradient. But always you don't have this case. Sometimes you have some another cases also, so that will give rise to different types of summit curves. And before we go into the types, just to clarify this deviation angle, so you all know by now that when we had seen the transition curve, so we had seen something called a deviation angle. So in this case, in case of a summit curve, what we have is 2 gradients will be meeting together, or they will be intersecting, and we have to provide a curve between them. Okay. So instead, so curve is actually what we provide, but if I don't provide a curve on paper, and if I just extend those lines, so those lines will intersect somewhere, and the angle that they will make, that is nothing but the deviation angle. Generally, it is given as capital N notation. Okay. And this is interesting, or this is the point to remember, that deviation angle, it is the algebraic difference between the intersecting gradient. So now what is it? We'll see through the example. So the first type A of a summit curve, is when you have 2 gradients. One is an up gradient, okay, of value n1. So you can see the notation plus n1 is written. Now that plus sign, we'll see shortly why that plus sign is necessary. So this is an up gradient with a value plus n1, and it is intersecting with, or it is followed by another up gradient of n2 value plus n2. But now if you see the dotted lines, so those are the actual slopes that are shown. So if you see slope n1 or gradient n1, it is a lot steeper than slope n2. So being steep, what happens is you get this kind of intersection, and obviously again you have to mild it down, but not but. So you have to mild it down. So for milding it down, you need to join it with a curve, and then this will become your summit curve in this case. Okay. So now you see this case number 1, what we saw. So you don't really have a up gradient followed by a down gradient, but in this case we have a up gradient, a steep up gradient, which is followed by a mild up gradient. Okay. So in that case also you get such apex kind of formation, and to flatten it down, you need a summit curve. So on the left side, if you see, there is a picture. Now from the picture you can't fully get the view, but actually when you go on site, you will understand this, that this is one gradient, and it's a steeper one from where this photo was taken. So there I was standing at a steeper gradient, and then there was again an up gradient, but a mild one. Okay. So this portion, it is my summit curve. So though I don't know whether you can make it out from the picture clearly or not, but for just for the purpose that you should get a bit of visualization, so that's why I've inserted this photo. So your type A summit curve, it will look something like this, that you have an up gradient, a steep one, and then it is followed by a mild steep gradient. Okay, now here you have, in addition to that, a horizontal curve as well, so you can neglect that horizontal curve. Okay. Then coming to type number B, in this again you have a up gradient of value n1 plus n1, but now it is not intersecting with any gradient, but it is intersecting with a level road. So that's why you see n2 is equal to 0 in this case. Okay. So in that case also you have a apex kind of formation. Okay, so this should be a dotted line. So apex kind of formation should be there. So to flatten it, you will provide this summit curve. I'll just write it SC. So on the right side, if you see the figure, so again, this is the up gradient on which I was standing, and then I have taken the photo. And then you see you have a level road for some distance, and again far if you see there is an up gradient. But not considering that up gradient, we are more interested in this part. Okay. So after an up gradient, you have a level road. So this is what your type B of summit curve. Type we have is we have an up value plus n1 level road. So a gradient, so we don't have, but it's just zero. This is what it looks like. Type in summit curve type, that is you have an upgrade and it is followed by a gradient n2. So in that case, have this apex kind of formation, and using this summit curve, you see that's the figure that summit curve. So the same was shown. So this is also a type C over here. The D type, it is some or a very rare type in which you have, okay, so the value of minus n1, considering down we have a notation as minus, and it is followed by another downgrade one. Case number A or and type D cross to each other. So in type A, what we had is two ascending gradients, okay, but one was steeper, or the first one was steeper, and then the second one, the one which was following it, it was a milder one. So on contrary to that, we have this type number D, and you have a mild down gradient and followed by a steep down gradient itself. So in that case, again, you have this apex kind of formation, and you flatten it using this summit curve. Okay. On the right side, if you see again, now it's a figure which is showing this kind of curve. Again, really, if you expand or enlarge this figure, then you might get a feel of it, but mostly you will get the feel of all these curves once you go on site. Okay. So on site, when you travel, so if you come across these kind of gradient variations, so you can come to know that which is the type of summit curve you are encountering. So here, this was a down gradient, but a bit mild, and then there was a even steep down gradient over here because it was a small bridge which was there over here. So in that location, the bridges were at a lower level than the existing road level. So that's why we had a down gradient followed by a steep down gradient, and then there was a bridge over here. So in this case, you can see that this is the summit curve for type D. Okay. So now what you have to know from all this, or important point from all this, is the deviation angle capital N that we were talking about. So here it is written, it's algebraic difference between the intersecting gradients. Now what is algebraic difference? Difference you all know. Difference is nothing but subtraction. So if I just suppose case A, I have two gradients n1 and n2. So if I just subtract them, so this is nothing but difference. But what is algebraic differences? You have to consider the signs of those values. So that's why I told you that those minus n1 plus n1, they are important. Okay. So algebraic difference is nothing but plus n1, because that's the algebraic sign of your gradient n1, minus, because we are having an algebraic difference, the next gradient, that is also up gradient in this case, so that is again plus n2. So it gives out to you the deviation angle of capital N as n1 minus n2. Okay. In this case number B, if you see, you have a gradient of plus n1, and you have to algebraically subtract it from n2. Now in this case n2 is equal to 0, so your n or deviation angle, it will be equal to your gradient n1. In this case number C, if you see, you have a positive gradient n1 and you have a negative gradient n2, and then you have to take a algebraic difference of this. So this negative negative, it will become positive and you will get a deviation angle of n1 plus n2. Okay. And in the type D, if you see, n2 is equal to, or capital N is equal to n2 minus n1. So how that came, that is minus n1 minus n2, because we are taking the algebraic difference. So it will give you minus n1 plus n2. So just n2 they have written on the, or they have written initially, so n2 minus n1, and that will be a deviation angle. Then if we talk about what type of summit curve or what should be the shape of your summit curve, so generally circular summit curves are preferred, or they are not preferred, they are considered as an ideal one. Because now what is going to happen if you consider the worst case amongst this summit curve, or if I tell you that which is the dangerous summit curve amongst all this, or on which type of summit curve accidents might take place. So the obvious answer to this is the summit curve C. Okay, because if you see summit curve C, what it looks like is you are just traveling and it looks like there is no one or there is no road ahead. Okay. So you really can't guess while if you are traveling at this point, suppose. Okay. So at this point, you can't really guess that what is the road ahead, whether it's a level road, whether it's a down gradient, or whether there is an obstacle or a vehicle which is coming from opposite direction. So that also you can't guess from this point. You will only come to know when you reach a bit near to this apex. So there you will be able to see that what is actually lying ahead. So maybe if there is an obstacle just after this point, just after this point, if there is an obstacle, so when you reach here, you will come to know about that obstacle, and then you might not have that sufficient stopping distance to stop, and then in that case you might go on colliding with that obstacle, or if it's an oncoming vehicle, so you will have a head-on collision. So that summit curve C is the most dangerous one, where you have a up gradient followed by a down gradient. So for that, circular summit curve is considered ideal because your side distance, it should be available throughout the length of your circular curve. So if I consider a circle and if I consider a part of it, this much I'll use it as a summit curve. So you see the radius throughout this length, it will be constant because this is just a arc that I have taken out of a circle. So the radius is going to be constant. So on this constant radius, whatever distance is available, whether it's safe or not, we don't know, but there is some distance. So that's why you see it is written side distance. It's not written as safe side distance or stopping side distance. Okay. So there is some side distance available and it is a constant one. So suppose at this point, okay, at this point, if suppose side distance available, or I can see up to 50 meter in front of me. Okay. Now this 50 is also large value, but if suppose you can see 50 meters. So at each point on this circular curve or summit curve, I will be having a side distance of 50. Now that's the next step during the design, that you have to check whether this 50 is really sufficient or not. So we'll see it, come to it later. So that's why the circular summit curve is considered as an ideal one. And this is important thing that we have seen what is a transition curve. So transition curve mainly we have seen in horizontal alignment, or in case of horizontal curve, it is required so that you can have a gradual change of your radius and gradual change of your cross section because you have to introduce the superellation. But now in case of vertical curves, you don't have really superellation in picture. Okay? As long as the vertical curve doesn't have a combined horizontal curve with it. Okay? So that's the rare case because that becomes a lot very dangerous black spot from the accident point of view. So we try to avoid that kind of thing. So we are thinking that it's just plain summit curve, okay, like this with no horizontal curve in it. So in this case, now we don't need a transition curve because what will happen in a transition curve? So you know transition curve, the radius of the transition curve, it goes on varying. Okay, so it starts with infinity and then it achieves some value, suppose r1. Okay. If I call it radius, so radius it varies from infinity to r1. So if radius is going to vary, so your side distance that we are considering, so that is also going to vary. Okay, so might be you might have some side distance when the radius is infinite and some another side distance when the radius is r1. So you in that case there will be complication and you don't need such variable kind of side distances. So we want a constant side distance. So that's why we want a constant curve, or we want a curve whose radius will remain constant. And obviously transition curve, the radius doesn't remain constant. So that transition curve, it is not desirable in case of our summit curves. Okay. And then if you consider the deviation angle, so whatever this n values we have seen, capital N, okay, so this deviation angle, now if you go on site and then actually measure it, so in case of highways, the vertical curves in a highway, so the deviation angle is very small. Okay. Now, how much small? So it is small with respect to that if you consider a simple parabola and a circular arc, it both will be almost congruent to each other. Okay. So you can't really say that which one is a parabola and which one is a circular arc in case the deviation angle is very small. Okay. So what we do is though we know that our circular curve or circular arc, it is a ideal kind of thing for summit curve, but we go for this simple parabola for a summit curve, and only because it has two reasons that riding comfort, if you see, so riding comfort is good in case of a parabola. And the second most important thing is when you have to set this curve on field, okay, you know what is setting out of curve. So when you have to set this curve on field, you have to do the calculations, use the equation of whatever curve we are utilizing, and then you have to find out the coordinates, x coordinate and y coordinate, and accordingly you have to set out the curve on your field. So that process, it is quite easy or less time consuming and less tedious for a simple parabola rather than a circle. Okay. So that's why for summit curve, though we have discussed here that a circle is an ideal one or circular curve is an ideal one, but we are going to use simple parabola as the summit curve. Okay. So now that we know that simple parabola is going to be used as a summit curve, so now the next step is we have to actually design it. Okay. And again, design of vertical curve is nothing but we have to see whether the length of that vertical curve, or in this case we are talking only about summit curve, so the length of summit curve, whether it is sufficient or not, that will be the deciding factor from a designer's perspective. Okay. And that is actually what we are going to do in design of a summit curve. So before we start with the actual equation of the length of summit curve and all, so parabola equation, if I consider, so because just now I told you that we are going to use a parabolic summit curve. So parabola equation y is equal to ax square, okay, a simple parabola equation if you consider. So in this a value, it will, in case of our summit curve, the A value is nothing but n upon 2L, and this n is nothing but the deviation angle that we had seen in the last slide, that it is the algebraic difference between the intersecting gradient. So here n is the deviation angle, and then this capital L is nothing but length of your summit curve. Okay. So this is what I was talking about of the x and y coordinate, that if you know the x value, that horizontally at what distance you are marking the point. So at that point you will know that what is the offset, vertical offset y that you have to provide. So that constant A, it is calculated by this n upon 2L. Okay. So being said this, let's move on to the actual length of summit curve, how it is calculated. So the logic that we use in designing a summit curve is we should have sufficient side distance available, because again, if you see in this figure also, what we have considered is a up gradient of plus n1 followed by a down gradient of plus minus n2. So this becomes our summit curve type C, which we had seen. Okay, so that is the critical one we saw a few minutes back, at why it's critical, because if you are traveling on this up gradient, okay, plus n1, so you really don't know what is on the other side of this apex. Okay, so that apex, it is considered as point D over here. So now what we have to do is we have to design this summit curve so that my vehicle, whichever vehicle it is, it will pass freely over this summit curve without any collision with the obstruction, or without any collision with the oncoming vehicle. Okay. Now, what do you think is the important parameter in deciding whether I will be able to see the objects on the other side of the curve or not? Okay. So what I am asking is, if I give you this example, okay, so suppose this is the actual curve that we are thinking about, and you are the driver and you are driving on this vertical curve. So suppose you are driving a car. We'll first consider a car over here, and you are the driver. So obviously you can't see anything at this point of time when you are here, but might be you will be able to get a glimpse of the objects on the other side when your car reaches here. So this is one scenario. Now I'm asking, in what, or what will be deciding factor that at what length, okay, suppose this is L1 I am considering, and this is L2. So from that apex to this point. Okay. So obviously I am able to see the things on the other side of the curve when my car reaches this point A, suppose, when the distance is L1 from the apex. But I can't see anything when my car is at this point B, when the length is L2 from this apex. So what is the deciding factor that will affect this length or this point, that at which point I will be able to see the other side of summit curve? So what do you think is the deciding factor for this? I'll again repeat the question, or just to simplify it, I'm asking that on what parameter will this point depend, that at what point I'll see the objects in on the other side of the curve. Okay. In short, असा कुठला पॅरामीटर असणार आहे की जो ठरवेल की at what point, at suppose if I give a series of names, okay, this is A point, this we have already named B. Okay. So in somewhere between, if suppose this is C, this is D. Okay. So what I'm asking is, असा कुठला पॅरामीटर असणार आहे की जो डिसाइड करेल की मला समोरची गाडी, त्या कर्वच्या पलीकडची गाडी बी पॉइंट वर असतानाच दिसेल का सी पॉइंट वर असताना दिसेल का डी पॉइंट वर का ए पॉइंट वर? आर यू गेटिंग दी क्वेश्चन? आय एम आस्किंग what will be deciding factor which will help me, or which will provide me the information that whether the vehicle which is on the other side of the curve, okay, or whatever the object on other side of the curve, whether it will be visible to me at point B itself, or I have to travel up to point C, or up to point D, or up to point A. Okay. So the more you travel towards the apex, the less will be the stopping side distance if in case you have to apply some brakes. So what is the deciding parameter? The factor on which it will be deciding that when I will be able to see the object which is in front of me or on the other side of the curve is the height of my eye level. Okay, so if I am a driver and I am at point B, suppose I am having a height or my eye level because I am sitting in a seat. Okay, and suppose it's a small car, suppose nano. Okay, so my eye level is not that high from the road surface, so I might not be able to see anything which is even at before this apex also, okay, or just after this apex. But at the same point B, if I am traveling in a truck, okay, if I am a truck driver, so truck, you know, it's a huge vehicle. Its seat of the driver is also at a higher level with respect to the road surface. So might be a truck driver traveling at the same point B. Okay, so at the same point B, if I suppose have a truck, so at the same point B, the truck driver will be able to see that okay, there is a vehicle coming from opposite direction after the apex of this curve. Okay, but at the same point B, the driver sitting in the car, he or she might not be able to guess or see that what is the vehicle which is coming from the opposite direction. Okay, so that talking about that the parameter which will be deciding that whether the things are visible from the other side or not is the h value, that is height of the eye level of the driver. Okay, and similarly, what is the height of the object? So the other side of the apex point, if the object is small, such as a suppose some animal is passing by, okay, or a cat is passing by, suppose. Okay. So in that case, the height of that object is not that much, so it's equal to you. But instead of that, suppose there is a huge boulder in front at that point, so that huge boulder might have some considerable height, so you might be able to see that. So these are the two things on which your length of summit curve, it really depends. That is the capital H, that will be height of the eye level of the driver, and the second one will be small h, which will be height of the obstruction. So if it's an obstruction, so obviously in case of obstruction, what we do is we stop our vehicle. So in that case, SSD will come into picture, stopping side distance. Okay. And suppose you don't have an obstruction, but you have an oncoming vehicle. Okay, there is a vehicle coming from the opposite direction. Okay, or there's a vehicle which is traveling this N2 curve in the opposite direction. So in that case, side distance will not come into picture, but overtaking side distance will come into picture. Okay, because we have seen in the overtaking side distance analysis, the same sort of case we had seen, that you are overtaking, but at the same time there is a vehicle coming from opposite direction. So your start of overtaking operation till the end, and the end point that we had considered for our overtaking operation, it was that point where your oncoming vehicle or vehicle traveling in opposite direction, it just passes your vehicle. Okay, so that's why if you have a vehicle coming from opposite direction, you will consider OSD, or overtaking side distance. And if you have a stationary object or a passing by object, so in that case you will consider the stopping side distance. So you will be having two sets of formulas. One set of formula will be depending on the stopping side distance, and second set of formula will be depending on the overtaking side distance. Okay. So we have already exceeded the time, so we'll stop here for today. And the formulas we'll consider in the, or we'll see the formulas in the next lecture. Okay. So today you got your ideas clear that what is the actual summit curve, how it looks like, and then what are the actual parameters on which your formula will depend.